What is going on, everyone? This is Ryan with the Loth Wolfpack, and today we are bringing you lucky number 13. We are having some technical difficulties, so if we cut in and out or you hear Bob randomly join with a Babu Frick noise, please be aware that that is a strong possibility here. But if Bob joins or when Bob joins, we will be, for the first time ever, I know you guys at home are all excited to hear this, the entire team is joining us for this cast.
Maybe.
So we have Casey. Relax. We have Casey. We have Levi. We have Jim. We have Chris. And we have maybe Bob if he decides to join. But as we all know, Bob and technology and just Bob and things in general, you know, just don't really go well.
Doesn't mix together. Yeah.
Gentlemen, how is it going? Casey, start with you. How are you doing today?
Oh, I'm great. Great to be here with you guys. I'm tired with my newborn, but excited for all these cards that we get to talk about.
Yeah, Levi, how about you, man?
I'm good, man. Stoked to be here. Thanks for having me.
Oh, anytime. The original Brothers Dim in the flesh, gentlemen. Jim, how you feeling?
I'm set. Let's do this.
And Chris, what are you doing?
We're ready to rip, ready to roll. Hopefully Bob doesn't derail the whole show.
I mean, that's Bob style. So anyway, today is going to be kind of an interesting episode. It's going to be kind of a fun one because we are all excited since we got the full spoilers for Covert Missions. What are we going on, Chris? I think you have the official counter. Are we on 5 years since our last set release?
Yeah, 5.5. Yeah, 5.5.
Okay, 5.5 years since the last set release. So we're creeping on record territory here. But they did give us the entire set. So what we decided to do was we are going to pick 2 cards each. So for a total of 10 to 12, if Bob joins, 2 cards each. We're going to discuss them. We're just kind of cards that we're excited about. Looking at the list here, we're not really going to talk about any legendaries or any things that we covered in previous casts, but just cards that we're kind of either excited about or cards that kind of change the game a little bit. And then we figured we discuss them. I know a lot of the other podcasters and stuff like that, they're doing tier lists and all that stuff and rating. We're not really going to rate these cards in terms of competitive play. We're mostly going to kind of talk about why we like them. So I'm pretty excited for this. We haven't really done kind of set review yet, so this will be interesting. So we are going to kick it off with Casey. Casey, you've got a couple of good cards here that you want to talk about. You can do this in any order that you want here. But tell us at least one of the cards, why you're excited, what you want to play it for, anything basically, why this card kind of piqued your interest. So kick it off, my man.
All right. Well, you're really popping my cherry here on my first podcast.
Oh, hey.
Go first. Yeah.
It's my pleasure.
Yeah. Didn't even get a drink.
I was going to say, I owe you one.
But so I picked my 2 are I think one will be a staple really in most any deck that runs a mission card. And I'm sure you can tell what that one is. And the other one's my little spicy. So I'm going to start with Covert Mission. I think it's just the new must include. You could throw in a mission plot just to get this card. Tutoring any card you want out of your deck for $1, yes, please. I just can't see anything wrong with this card. And it being a red neutral, I can't see a red deck not playing.
And you get a shield.
Yeah. So bonus.
Yeah, hey.
So yeah, I think it's a really strong card. I think we'll see a lot of it.
Yeah.
Is it ridiculously strong? Is it too strong?
Well, it's the first pure tutor that we've seen. And it's also the first card where you don't have to reveal your searched card to an opponent.
Right. Big deal.
Yeah, so you can play like some gamesmanship where it's like, oh, I play Covert Mission. I'm gonna find easy pickings, and then you didn't find easy pickings like a scoundrel.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of really cool stuff in here. I mean, so you instead of playing your 2 super critical cards, you play 1 with 2 of these, and you're still up 1 in your deck to find that 1 card you need to win the game. So pretty strong.
Yeah,
Big fan of it.
There he is.
Here. Sorry to interrupt you, Casey.
No, not at all.
Jesus, Bob. Have some decorum.
No, and I didn't know this was going to happen. No one
Yeah,
said
I really love Covert Mission. I think it, like you said, you hit it right on the head. I think it's a staple. Any mission plot or any mission lineup you play, it's a 2 of automatically. The tutor is insane. The shield is a perfect bonus. It's only $1. Like this. Oh man, this thing's really cool.
Yeah.
As an
everywhere.
aside,
It
is
used
this
to.
the first like card that's named after the set that's like somewhat playable?
Nope.
No, Convergence was playable.
That might be
How many
true.
times
Way
did
of
you
the
how many times
Force.
did you ever
The
play
Convergence.
Convergence?
Bob played it all the time in that stupid.
Think about what
Yeah,
you
I
just
did
said.
play it.
Bob
With the
played it
Marauder.
all the time.
The Marauder deck.
That's just because you don't play a card
know some
doesn't
of my
mean the rest
creations
of
are
us
pretty
don't.
good.
You play like 1/3 of the cards.
No, I play
1/3 of the cards.
a quarter.
Wasn't Legacies playable too? It was like a blue
That was like-
event.
I think Jim
With
had it in his
Oak on it.
Chirrut deck.
I played it. I
Yeah.
If you're a jank tanker, you always play the card that's named
Jank
named after the
tankers.
set.
Across the Galaxy was good for a minute.
Yeah. Yeah, I've
Yeah,
played
that
that
too.
before.
Oh,
I'm an
oh,
idiot.
yes.
Sorry.
Well,
Yeah, come on.
but this
man.
is the
But it
best of
fun,
all
yeah.
of those, without question.
It is the best.
Yeah. So my other card, I just really like the idea of it. It's Trap the Blade, so it's a blue villain event for $1. Remove a die showing melee damage. If it is an upgrade die, you may spot a blue character and spend a resource to discard its matching card from play. So, in my mind, it's $1 for removal. Although it's directed removal or conditional removal, it's still good removal. And then for $1 more, I can never see that dice again. I mean, it just seems like super great. I wouldn't mind getting rid of a Vader Saber for $2. So, feels good.
Yeah,
I agree.
Yeah, Jim, go ahead.
I think anytime you can take a weapon off the board, but it is restricted by has to be a melee die. But like you said, if we're ever in a world where Styx becomes the top of the meta, then that card's going to be everywhere.
I mean, it's a really good way to keep Raylo in check.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, Maul,
Yeah.
Vader, there's still good
Mhm.
sticks out there. I mean, your Qui-Gon, seeing your
Mhm.
Qui-Gon Saber go or
Yeah, that would hurt.
Obi-Wan Saber
How feel
go.
bad would it be if you like
For
hit
Jim
Neiman
instead.
or like Sheehan Mastery with this thing on the one melee side?
that it has. Yeah,
You know,
Well, it's been a while since we've been able to remove upgrades, so easily. I mean, Imperial Inspection is the
Yeah.
last time. It was just like, oh, sorry, your two-coster's gone. I mean, do you remember when Imperial Inspection didn't disappear when you used it? It just stayed? Jeez.
Yeah, that back in the day.
I mean,
it
of
was
course, this thing's
broken.
a villain.
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, villain gets all the good stuff, especially
They
blue
get all the
villain.
good stuff.
About it's a villain heavy love. Yeah.
But yeah, I like these.
Yes.
Good too.
Yeah. Thanks. I think it'll be.
Alrighty,
fun to set
let's kick it over to little Chris action here. What do you think, Chris? What are your 2 cards? What are you excited about coming up?
Oh man, well, I don't think I'm alone in this one, but my choices are kind of cards that go together. So I have chosen Constructing the Death Star, the plot, and an upgrade called Director. So before I talk about kind of why I chose them, the cards themselves, I'll read them real quick. Constructed Death Star is a 2-point plot, and it has an action. It's not a power action; it's an action. Remove 2 of your dice, each showing a resource, to place 2 resources on this plot. Then, if you have 15 or more resources on this plot, you win the game. So, new way to win, alternate win condition. And then, Director, which is a 1-cost upgrade title, it goes on a leader character only. And after you resolve or remove 1 of your red dice showing a resource, you may exhaust this upgrade to roll that die back into your pool. And it's got Krennic on there after seeing the initial test of the Death Star with the sweet flavor text on there. So pretty cool card. But Ryan, I know you were talking about this, kind of thinking about these 2 cards as well. But if you guys could kind of bear with me for a second, I'd like to kind of explain maybe why I chose these.
Get up on your soapbox.
And I'm up there, Bob. Don't worry. So as you guys all know, I've been since like maybe September or October. I've been trying to play some sort of villain mill deck, villain discard deck, And, it just basically hasn't really been working too well. So, after doing a lot of losing at our local store from week to week with different types of builds, the most recent builds I've tried are Slymore, Madi, Wolf, and Bitter Rivalry. And then most recently I tried New Gunray, Wolf, and Madi. So, these decks, they do a decent job of controlling the opponent's dice and, pressuring discard. But they're not good at aggressively milling. Like right now, the card pool, you don't have a lot of ways to mill. Like there's like Bardotten Sphere, like clever distraction, but there aren't really a ton of ways to no answer, but there aren't really a ton of ways to do that. So, the deck itself, the archetype, like you're kind of just trying to stall the game out as long as possible and not die, and then kind of you gradually gain incremental mill advantages. But the problem is sometimes like I would be able to discard my opponent's entire hand, but in the process, I'm also using like 3 or 4 cards doing that. So I'm really only like 1 or 2 cards ahead because you can't hit their deck. It's not like Yodaleia where you can mill them aggressively every round. So like the only real way I was winning games was if I get no answer off once or twice and it got the 3 mil off that, or if I was able to get Grand Moff online and then, abuse the command center with the Grand Moff power action. Mm-hmm. But it really wasn't able to win too often. Like I would do it sometimes, but not really. It was kind of a struggle. So, all that being said, the reason I'm excited for the plot is because they're giving an alternate win condition now to this sort of style of control, like a choke deck that isn't based on milling your opponent. So, a lot of times what happens is you're able to discard them and they have minimal options for discard to reroll and minimal options for removing your dice. And you get to a stage in the round where they have all their dice out that are left over and they have no cards in hand and they can't do anything. And then a lot of your dice with the characters are focus, resources, or discard. So a lot of times what happens is at the end of the round, you focus into all this money and you just take the money because they can't do anything. So I know you guys have seen sometimes Jim and Bob, when I play this deck, sometimes I have like $6 or $8 starting the round. Right. So, with this new plot now, maybe this is going to like, instead of trying to simultaneously discard and control and mill your opponent out, you can just hone in on discarding and controlling them. And then with all these leftover dice we have now, you can remove the resources and put them on the plot. And maybe that's going to be an easier way to win than trying to mill your opponent and control them at the same time.
That's a really good point.
And then by doing that, you can also, now my deck, I looked at my deck list, you can cut out like 8 cards, like Grand Moff, you are on command now, no answer. All these things can come out and you can put in now all these new toys, like the covert mission card that Casey talked about, director, and some other cards. And it just might be a different way to win. And then also you can maybe try to play characters like Watto, who has money sides, and you get access to yellow. So it just kind of opens the door, I think, for this kind of deck to possibly be semi like a thing. So the only thing I don't like is the 2-point cost on the plot. I mean, that really kind of handcuffs
but it's
the
-1 with
pairings
Krennic
choices.
I think you have to run like Krennic Watto potential 3-wide could be like bananas.
Right. The only problem is I was trying to figure out what the pairing could be. Like the obvious mono red pairing is Elite Krennic with 2 Death Troopers and then the plot. But the Death Troopers, like granted they both have Guardian, but their die basically has 4 blinks on it because of the guns. So yeah, exactly. So the other pairing that came to mind is you can do Elite Krennic for 13, single Watto for 9, and get up to 22, and then run 1 Death Trooper for 8, and that's 29 points. So, but you can't really run Krennic, Madi, Wolf, Slymore. Like, there's not really a combination that adds up to 29. So I'm not really exactly sure what the best build's going to be, but it'll be interesting to mess around with it. But, the Spectres, we'll give them 31 points. That's fine. But, we'll make it 2 points to construct a Death Star.
Yeah, naturally.
Yeah.
So if I could just ask, because I'm as not a huge mill player, but isn't like one of the really strong benefits of being a mill player that you're disrupting your opponent's hand? And how would like a deck where you're just more focused on generating resources,
Oh yeah, go ahead.
Stop your opponent
Well,
in the
like
way
I was
that a mill one does?
Sorry, Ryan. Like I was saying, like the deck that I've played, like the Sly Mighty Wolf, like so your opponent's going to play a card for the round. So technically they kind of only have 4 cards in their hand most of the time. So if you can get off like one of your character's discard sides for 2, like generally that's going to be good enough to like put them in a weird spot where they don't have a lot of cards left in their hand and they're not going to have a lot of options. Like if they want to discard to reroll one time, then they only have 1 card left. Like it happens a lot where like Jim, like I mean, you and I played the other day, you run out of cards and you can't do anything, right? Like your dice are just kind of out there on like not ideal sides.
Well, right. I get that with being a mill player or milling, but this deck.
No.
wouldn't
I'm
necessarily
saying
be
you
a mill
don't
deck,
try to
right?
mill them, but you just every round your goal is to take as little damage as possible and stop them from doing anything. But then instead of having these like 7, 8, 9, 10 cards in your deck that are focused on milling your opponent, now you can just be more, controlling focused. And then all those extra resource die you can just put on the plot instead of like taking all the money. Instead of actually resolving them, you just put the resources on the plot to try to win.
I see. So you're just controlling it rather than
a little bit of
disrupting
both,
their
I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely think this opens up a secondary, like obviously secondary win condition, but we haven't really seen like the control deck non-mill, but like a control deck in Destiny that's like
right
good or viable. And I think
For
this
sure.
definitely, like to your point, I definitely think that this is like the first time where the opportunity of having a control but not mill style deck could find success. Like I think
For sure.
this is the plot to do it.
Yeah, like Yoda Leia Mill. I mean, that's an aggro deck. It just happens
it's
to
definitely
win.
not control.
Yeah, it just wins in a different way. You just mill them as fast as possible. But I've talked to you guys about this, but for the listeners, like the villain mill, it was just really, really hard to win. Like the times I did win, like I said, I have to hit no answer or Moth and then get command center online. And even then, even in those situations, it's like I'm not winning by a ton. Like I'm kind of barely scraping by to win those games. So I'm really excited to kind of at least explore this and see if it's possible.
I love
but I'm not really sure if it's going to work. But we'll see.
This will be one of those things where finding the 30 is going to be really hard. Like there's so many different cards that you can put into this to try to get there with like I mean, I know Levi's going to talk about a card coming up here that could really help out with that plot. But yeah, it's going to be hard to find that 30, but I definitely love it. Like I think it's just super cool to be able to deck build around this.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, like in the earlier drafts I had, like way back when, I had like stuff like bartering and like macro binoculars, to be honest, like in the deck. And in that style of deck, when I was trying to mill them, those cards just don't do enough. But now, if I'm trying to have extra dollar sources on the table, like maybe those can actually kind of help you win still, instead of just getting you money and then doing nothing else. Like you actually have an option of what you can do with these cheap dollar sides at the end of a round. So it'll be cool to mess around with. But thanks for letting me go off there for like 30 minutes. So
I think we got 5 minutes left. So
yeah.
All right. So let's kick it to Mr. Levi. I just mentioned one of your cards that I think pairs well with this plot. Why don't you talk about the 2 cards that you are excited about?
Sure thing. I've been thinking about this set quite a bit and how I feel like I don't know. I don't have any hot takes necessarily. Certainly not additive ones to the cards you're talking about. And I just think that I might as well just name a couple cards that are just no-brainers. Well, one is a no-brainer, and one of them I've been going back and forth. So the first one is one that everyone must be talking about. It's Reap. This is a yellow neutral event, 0-costed ambush. Because why not? Turn one of your dice to a side showing a resource. So it's sort of inverted bait and switch.
I love that card.
Yeah, it's nuts, right? It just lights up so many decks. I don't see how this isn't an auto occlude. It is a feed on a stick in a certain way. But there's some sneaky plays with it. Uh, there's some really sneaky plays with it. And the first one that came to my mind is Lando Leia.
Yes, Lando is going to be sick with this card.
Lando is ridiculous with this card, and then, I mean, not only for Leia's power action, but hell, you flip that die to that force side, use her power action, leave it sitting there, or resolve it, of course, like whatever you want to do, or if Stealthy's up, Stealthy that card, right, with the special, it's like discard.
Yeah, discard cards based off the value on one of your dice or something.
Yeah, of course it's the dream to have it, but this card lights up Stealthy in a whole nother way. Not to mention Watto. Not to mention any time you're trying to chase down a money dream. Then add what Chris was talking about, with Director and Death Star. I mean, it's amazing. I think this card is going to create some problems, but maybe not. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't think. I mean, it took us a while for bait and switch to create problems. Like, really, it was when Vader showed up when you're like, "Uh-oh," but it was still there.
I missed that card too.
Yeah, so
Right. Does anybody else have anything to say about Reap? Any hot takes on Reap?
Yeah, I mean, I missed kind of part of the conversation, but I think Reap is going to be one of those kind of sneaky plays in a lot of cards or a lot of decks. I like the fact that it's neutral. Finally, we kind of heroes get a little bit of a little benefit here.
Yeah, it's huge for heroes. It's huge for heroes. It's huge for Watto. Just to ensure his plan. It's good. It's really good.
Just give it to Pal.
Yeah, it's a nuts card, but I don't know. Then again, when we cycle out, it's gonna be, I don't know. It's just gonna be like a known factor. It's just anyway. It's white bread. It's a white bread card.
I think it's very hard to defend.
Yeah, you can't do anything about it.
Like, yeah, bait and switch. You could like kind of play around it. This is not that.
Yeah, it's ridiculously good. A lot of this set just had me sitting straight up when I was going through the spoilers. I was like, oh, my posture is really good right now because I need to pay attention to what's going on. And there's some stuff that I'm having some trouble tracking in terms of the long-term implications, but this one is a no-brainer. The other card I selected, I was on the fence between two of them, and then Ryan, our conversation tilted me back the other direction.
Going off script.
I'm going to go a little off script and I'm going to cite Double Agent. For one, it is a yellow neutral support. It reads, after the upkeep phase begins, deal 2 indirect damage to yourself. Action. Discard an event from your hand to give control of the support to an opponent. This is one of those cards that, to your point, Ryan, I'm thinking along the same lines, completely blows up your opponent's decision points, their sequencing, and their entire game plan. And your own. I mean, obviously it could backfire in funny ways. I mean, it's one of those funny, just kind of bomb cards that you're like, this is what's up. But it could lead to, and I'm sure this is something you're definitely exploring, like in completely degenerate shit. But yeah, I mean, that's my hot take. It's a degenerate card. And it's Ryan's like second child.
I love degen cards. You know that.
This is all of
I love my degen cards. So like going off of that conversation, you and I were talking about it. I love cards, and I mean for the guys in here, Jim hates me for it, but like my play style is more like I like looking at cards that put your opponent in a very difficult spot. Instead of just like rolling out or whatever, I like playing a style of, instead of me like hoping or focusing or whatever to max damage and killing characters. I like kind of figuring out ways to have that psychological advantage. Like if I play a card and my opponent kind of has to think and they have a chance of making the wrong decision versus in a card, like with a card or with a decision point in a game, then I gain little advantages like that. That's why I like cards like this. Now, I don't know what the utility for Double Agent is going to be, whether it's just an Ewok deck or whether it's going to be in like a lot of decks that I play. But the fact that I can play a card, or I can wait until they have burned some mitigation to play this, so I can guarantee the 2, or I can play this right away, give them control, and now they burn a mitigation card because they don't want to take 2 indirect, and then I roll out and do damage to them. So like that, even though I'm taking 2 indirect damage because they're going to send it back to me, I can now have my dice protected on the field or when I roll in because they didn't want to take the 2 indirect and they sent it back to me with a mitigation card. You know what I mean? So like that's an interesting game of chess there that this card opens up. So there's a lot of possibilities. I'm excited to kind of explore how good it really is.
I think it in some ways prevents you from claiming early, right? I mean, you can't. It's hard for you to be the last one out there if your opponent has cards and can push it back to you at the end. But it does change the way an opponent would play, and that's a big, big part of the game for sure. So it's a pretty sweet card.
It's great.
Yeah,
I think the coolest part of the card is the art, the little nose guy on there.
Yeah, he looks.
Look at him.
He looks like one of those spy versus spy guys.
Or he looks like he's in like Oddworld, like that old video.
He's got like headphones on. He's like, I'm not doing anything. I'm just walking around, you know.
All right, that's me.
Yeah. All right, I don't know about you guys, but I think I need some Blue Hero in my life. And what better to get some Blue Hero in my life than go for the resident Blue Hero player? So, Captain James, why don't you take it away?
I'll make it really quick because these cards are like the same. They're not the same thing, but they follow the same theme. 0 cost, Blue Hero, Nullify. Move 1 shield from one of your characters to an opponent's character, then remove a die. That's awesome for any Raylo deck and any pretty much any hero deck because you generate shields if you're using Blue Hero. So I'd rather give you a shield and remove your most threatening dice any day of the week. So you're turning one of their best dice into a 1 shield essentially. So that's awesome. Really cool. And then Stand Firm, card 62, another Blue Hero. Remove any number of your dice showing a shield to remove that many dice. That's awesome because, like I said, I've played Qui-Gon a lot, and there's a lot of times later in the game when you'll roll in and you have so many dice showing shield that you don't need. And another 0 coster where you'd gladly remove 2 dice showing a shield to remove 2 of your opponent's dice. So the most important thing here is $0 because Blue Hero makes no money. So anything you can do for 0 and getting 2 very useful 0 cost cards in the same set, that's like unheard of. Like you only get a useful 0 cost card every once in a while. Just thinking of like Pacify, Hidden Motive. They give villains 0 usefuls all the time.
All the time.
Yeah, for all the time. They give them Sinister Piece, Forsaken, like just all. It seems like villains get all the sweetness. So to give heroes 2 0 cost removal cards, yes, there's conditions that need to be met, but
that's true.
Like,
they need 0 cost removal.
Yeah, and well, aside for Hidden Motive where you just call the symbol, but you're right. Most of the time, there's some type of condition where your board state has to be in some capacity set up to do what you need it to do. But just think like Old Man Luke, man. All his dice have shields, and so like it's just really flexible in a lot of Blue Hero decks. So these 2 cards will definitely be auto includes in my instantly put together Anakin Ahsoka deck.
Yeah, so Jim, I don't know if you agree with me on this one, and I'll kind of field this question over back to you because you're kind of more the resident Blue Hero guy. do you think that these cards, especially these cards now, paired with Hidden Motive and Pacify, so that's 4 pretty solid 0-cost removal, does that open the door to for Blue Hero to be a little bit more aggro? Like your Qui-Gon Yoda deck was very good, but Yoda, while he could special chain into things like Yoda Saber or Neiman or Treasured, he was more there to generate the cash and kind of set up Qui-Gon. Now, do these cards set up an opportunity for, like you said, Old Man Luke and like more like aggro characters like Ayla or Anakin Ahsoka, or like pairings like that are going to push damage?
Yeah, I do, and I honestly think I was telling Chris, I do think that Kanan's gonna be looked at as like the Spectre guy, but in all honesty, him and his sword for 12 points, he instantly fits into almost all blue aggro decks, and like yeah, you can do awesome stuff with him with the Spectres and run like your 3 wide whatever, but to instantly have Kanan, his sword, and then all these new 0-cost cards in a deck, that's like I don't play that big Yoda, that 18-point cost Yoda, but I'm going to now when I can play Big Yoda and Kanan, and I have a million shields, and I do these nullifies and stand firms and whatnot. So like, I think this set sneakily really helps that Big Yoda, that mystical mentor one, more so than a lot of the other cards,
Sure.
a lot of the other hero characters.
Yeah, I agree, and Kanan's cool because you don't need a Spectre to get his effect. Like, yeah, the point cost is nice, but it's not like spot another Spectre to turn a die to any side. So like, you can still do it. You just don't get the point cost. But yeah, I agree.
Yeah. So, I mean, I'm sure I'll try a bunch of different pairings, but like the guys said at the above cards that they talked about, like with Reap and Trap the Blade and Covert Missions, they're just, it seems like in this set they're offering options for all the different styles. So like Casey, you were talking about that Covert Mission card, right? And then you were like, it's an auto include, but then I looked and checked, and like, you have to have a mission plot. So like, what's the sacrifice then? Like, do you just throw in like, because I saw like Jedi Trials is a mission,
Coaxium,
construct the Death Star, Coaxium. So like, yeah, this card's awesome, but what do you, like, if you were going to make this and use its ability and you have a red character, you still need like the 2 points on the side for the mission plot, right?
Yeah, but who's, I'm just like, you don't need to necessarily follow that mission, right? That could just be.
Yeah, but it still takes up points, right?
Like in
Luke like minuses the destroy the Death Star by 1. Krennic decreases the create the Death Star by 1. So you're really only paying,
or like if I'm
you're
playing
using
Mill,
characters.
if I'm playing Mill, I can just add Coaxium Heist because I don't care if I'm giving you a Guardian, and then I play 2 covert missions because I can spot Coaxium Heist, even though I'm not trying to do that. And Coaxium Heist is a 0 cost.
Oh, Coaxium Heist is a 0 cost.
Yeah, that's true.
So
yeah,
are there any cards in this set that negate a mission? No, probably not. So
no.
Nope. And there'll be more missions for the next 3 sets for sure, right? I mean,
one would think, yeah, right.
Which is cool though.
Yeah,
I'm a big fan of that.
I do like the game within the game that the missions kind of bring.
Yeah, I'd be interested to see how it shakes out and how much you see sit across the table from you.
Yeah, that was
definitely.
I never thought about it like that because, in all honesty, my brain doesn't go to the broken stuff, and that's probably why.
This is your way of saying you're just a better person.
Yeah, I take offense.
No, you should kind of take offense to the fact that you found a really good combo, and now I'm mad. But don't take offense. Don't take offense to you as a player. It's just more or less like every time it seems like new stuff comes out, and then I get excited, and then all of a sudden people are telling me all these broken combos, and I go, sick.
I mean, I don't think Covert Mission with a 0 cost, I don't think it's broken. Like, it's not like there's been worse things. I think searching for a card is cool, and they didn't abuse it too much. You just get 1. I mean, but like at the same time, you only get to use that one card.
Mhm.
Like it's not like pick any 3 cards from your hand and put it in your.
No, I think it's cool. What I'm saying is, I just get worried.
No,
like,
I got it.
like obviously the card is designed to spot a mission, so like you would like to think the intent would be it's used in that capacity to help advance your mission planning. What people are like what we're talking about right now. We're gonna be like, haha, I'll just put this 0 cost mission in here,
Yeah.
haha, and
And
then
I get no answer.
yeah, so I can get my card, haha. So like that's just, dude, hate it, hate it.
This is the most sardonic laugh I've ever heard.
Hate it.
Feel it. Feel it. All right, Jim, you have any parting words on the Blue Hero?
Nah, it's cool. Hopefully it gets better.
Yeah, good
Yeah,
card.
thank you.
Good card.
I think they're gonna. I mean, yeah, I think these 2 cards alone are going to allow a different style of play for Blue Hero that we haven't seen because they're not going to be so money dependent. And this is really good removal. This isn't like remove a die showing not damage if you can. Like this is just get a die, 0 cost, remove a die. If you meet that condition, which every time I play against you, you have a shield on one of your characters, and usually 1 or more of your dice are showing a shield. Like Stand Firm could be a blowout.
Mm-hmm.
And Nullify is better than Forsaken, really, in every.
I 100%.
Oh yeah, it's absolutely better than Forsaken.
And I like that these are both hero.
Yeah, but that's what
Yeah,
we're
let's say I
Forsaken
like that
is
these are.
villain, so
I like that these are both hero. Like usually, like we've seen them with Hidden Motive or something.
they're neutral.
It's been neutral. Yeah.
Yeah, these are two. There's even another one. I know we shouldn't have. I'm not going to talk about it in extensive form, but did you see that goofy card with like Kanan talking to a spider on it, and it's.
Oh yeah, I know what you're
That's
talking about.
If an opponent just turned a dice this turn, turn it to any side you want. It's also a 0 cost. I thought that was kind of cool because it does seem to be like we're in a meta where people are just constantly focusing and turning dice. And so like I know that probably sounds like a stupid card, but it does seem
It would be cool if it was remove that die.
Well, that would be way too strong for a 0 cost.
It would screw all the focus decks. Like if an opponent just turned it.
What's it actually
It is called it's called Acute Awareness for 0. So it says if a die was turned during an opponent's last turn this round, turn that die to any side.
Use it to blanket. Yeah.
So you get to basically refocus. Yeah, if your opponent focuses, you get to refocus that die.
Which is
kind of
good.
so.
It's not good for any type of chain. It's
still good.
It can't defend it against any type of chain resolve action, but it at least can stop a like. You play that against Iden Beckett, that's pretty good.
I think that's a mill card.
Yeah, for
honestly.
sure.
It doesn't help against Reap.
Force them to reroll. It does. It definitely does not. Nothing does. There's no defense for it.
Yeah.
All right, Dr. Bob, I think you're up.
Did you already go?
My cards.
I don't want to steal
Do you
your
even have your
cards. I mean,
do you have your cards? Mine are in the Google Doc.
I do have some. Okay. Well, so I guess I'll start with lead from the front. 7 cost. I'm just I'm totally completely joking. Ryan and I were talking about, and he was like, "You're gonna say that."
You will, though. You will.
And I was teasing. I don't. I mean, who knows? We'll see how that card plays out. But the 3 decks that I'm like super excited to play from this set are Spectre, obviously. Really excited to play Wookiees, and then kind of to piggyback off of what Chris was saying with create the Death Star. I'm very excited to play a pilot and destroy the Death Star mission. And so with that being said, I'll lead off with, I guess, the destroy the Death Star plot. So after setup, give this plot 20 shields. You can then resolve your pilot and vehicle dice, showing range damage against this plot. And then as an action, if the plot has no shields, spend 1 resource and reroll 1 of your pilot and 1 vehicle dice into your pool. And if both of those are showing damage, you win the game. So I think that's super cool because as all of you know, I'm a big Poe Dameron fan. Right, Ryan?
That's an
And
understatement.
so
Bob.
Poe Dameron with his pilot, well, his ability is insane. I mean, if you think about, you're pairing him with probably another pilot character. Their base sides are 2 range. Poe has two range sides. If you pair that with another pilot who's probably got a 2 range side, and then usually like the X-wings and all these other cheap vehicles have, can you guys guess, 2 range sides. I mean, you really only have to resolve 10 dice against this plot. Plus, Poe, if he's piloting it, spikes these by 2. I mean, you can
And
do some
focus
pretty
fires
nasty
in the
things.
meta,
And
like,
I wonder
hot.
how quickly you could do this plot. Focus fire is, you can play, there's a Death Star plans card, which I wasn't going to call as like one of my cards, but that's an action. Exhaust this upgrade to either place 1 resource
card
or
is
remove 2
sweet.
shields from your Death Star plot. It is. And then obviously the undertext says, after an opponent's effect deals damage to the attached character, then you move this card to one of their characters. I mean, I wonder how quickly you could churn
Just
out
play moving
20
rocks.
damage onto this plot. So I mean, yeah, that too. You could do that as well. But so that's the one card I'm super excited about. I'm already kind of trying to deck tech a Poe, and I'm not sure who I'm going to put him with. I know the Luke, pilot Luke is kind of intriguing. I can't remember when they showed the plot. We kind of were speculating what the pairing would be, but I kind of forgot what that was. But that's something I'm excited about. And then, so that's my first card, and then my second card is actually kind of along those lines, is Eject. So 0 cost ambush, and it says discard a vehicle from that you control to heal 2 damage from one of its piloting characters and give that character 2 shields. For 0 cost ambush, and you get to swing 4 health is insane in my opinion. I mean, this can allow you to stay alive and either finish your mission and or stay alive and just, I mean, kill the other character. And I mean, you lose the vehicle, but at this point in the game, if you're going to die, why not? And it's a 0 cost. You're not having to pay for anything versus like, I mean, what is it? First aid, field medic. You have to pay 1 for those. The riot shield goes away, and that's only going to block at most 3. So I think Eject is very cool in the upcoming meta, especially if you're playing the pilot mechanic.
That one,
those are
some 1 cost gray neutral. I think it's a freighter of some sort or whatever it is. That's a vehicle. It's like put 3 resources on it, tap it
I have
to
that
get
one too. The merchant freighter. Yep.
Yeah, that's a vehicle. So you can get 3 resources and then eject that, because it doesn't go away once you take the 3rd resource off. Correct?
It says this support can be activated after you activate the support. You may remove a resource from it to gain a resource.
It doesn't say discard, so it stays out there as a support with 0 resources. So you can eject out of that thing, destroy it, and then do eject shenanigans.
You could, yeah. I actually never thought about that, but you're right. I think it does. Yeah, I guess it doesn't say it leaves play.
It stays. So like, it was like what's it called? What's the old school one where you took a damage off and did an unblockable backup muscle? So when you did 3 backup muscles, backup muscles stayed on the table. You could still activate it if you wanted to stall, but it just didn't do anything.
That's a good point too. I never thought about that.
And there's some cheap 1 cost no dice vehicles, right?
Well, and with like the R2 Astromech, I mean, you could throw that onto something and ready it again. I mean, you could. I feel like, I mean, and this is my only personal opinion, I feel like destroy the Death Star is going to be a lot easier than the create the Death Star. But it's just me, because you have to have the resource side showing on your dice.
It'll be cool to get that on stream when the cards come, just a race to see who can do what first.
Well, aren't you really just effectively reducing your opponent's hit points to 20?
You're doing 20 damage, yeah.
I mean, yeah. But I know you're limited to they have to be pilot dice and stuff like that, so you don't have as many dice. But 20 hit points is
it's very 20 health deck.
Yeah, the penalty for doing that though is that you're not taking your opponent's die off the table by killing their guys. You know,
right? But if you're like playing Palpatine, who has infinite health,
true. Why? Yeah, right.
You know, healing.
Right. Right. Yeah.
Just do this. And
why worry about Bacta and just?
Well, that's why I think Eject is so good too. So because even if they do damage to your character, you can survive by just pitching one of your vehicles, and now you've negated for their damage, essentially.
Sure. I like
Real
them,
quick,
Bob. I like
Yeah,
them.
thanks. Before I give it back over to you, Ryan, I just want to say real quick, I was looking through the cards in the set, and I wonder if this is going to be the time to shine for Sebulba because of his ability. There's so many cards that have resources on them, and with Sebulba's like ability to move resources onto cards, I don't know. I was just
That's a
thinking
good
about
take.
that, and I don't know what you
Yeah,
guys
because he can put a resource on
on a
the build
support.
a Death Star. Oh, it's a support.
No, it's a support. I was
Ah,
looking at that too. I thought about
damn.
that.
That could have been broken.
I know.
Zabulba is the anti-death star.
Sebulba's
He's the
just
one.
built. He's the
It's the
mastermind.
secret. Yeah.
Krennic doesn't know anything. Tarkin nothing. It's Sebulba. Alrighty, so I have these two cards. My first card is a zero cost villain because, of course, villain gets another good zero cost. Face the enemy. Spot an exhausted character to force an opponent to draw two cards. Then look at that opponent's hand and place two of their cards, up to two of their cards from their hand on top of their deck in any order. I think this has the potential to be one of the most oppressive cards in the game, with just spotting an exhausted character as the only condition. I think it's just extremely, extremely oppressive. I think this eliminates probe from a lot of decks, and it's a better counterintelligence because it's not an event. You can hit any two cards. Yeah, you're giving them two, but like you can just literally take their best two cards and put them back on top of their deck, and then it just completely clears the way for the entire. Plus, you get perfect hand knowledge, and you're not worried about anything. I mean, can you
This is
imagine
the
hitting this
biggest
with like a
dickhead
Sentinel
card
Messenger
ever.
off the top?
Yeah, it's a
I
problem.
think
It's a problem.
I think it's a problem. Like I think it could be a problem.
I mean, to your point, Ryan, about
And
being better than probe. I mean, I'm definitely just playing two probe, two of these, and two counter intels for sure in that Death Star deck.
in your
So,
deck, yeah, like a control deck for sure.
for sure, yeah.
And you don't have to worry about shit at that
Yeah,
point. Like you
right.
are safe. I mean, if you're playing like, let's say, like a Iden Beckett just because it's common, or like just a red aggro deck where you're not trying to control, you can probably get rid of pro. But for you, hell yeah.
Yeah, I know what you're saying. Yeah, definitely agree.
I mean, this thing's disgusting. I mean, it's dumb that villain gets this powerful of a card again for zero cost, and all you have to do is spot and exhausted. Not a leader, not a red, anything like that. It's just, I don't know. I think it's really good, and I think it could potentially be a problem. My next card is a character, which I think is going to be fun, which for whatever reason, this is a hero card, even though this looks like the shadiest person I've ever seen. The Master Smuggler, a 10 health, 10/13 hero yellow, 1 range, 3 for 1 range, 1 disrupt, 1 discard, 1 shield. He/she is a character scoundrel. After you activate this character, you may resolve one of your scoundrel dice as if it were showing a resource. So, holy ramp, Batman, we are back in business for heroes. I think,
Money.
yeah, I think this is, it could, I mean, it fits perfectly in an entourage deck, but I think this allows yellow to hit massive ramp again. It goes great in like Lando decks because you're trying to get out big cards. I think this gives yellow hero a really awesome chance of just super hyper ramp, which is really cool. The key is going to be whether you want it for 1 die or 13, or 1 die or 2 die for 10 or 13, and kind of seeing where she
I'm
fits.
surprised.
But
three
I
full
definitely
inside
think
this die.
there
That's
is
pretty
something
cool.
here that people are going to want to look into.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's basically a 3 resource for 1.
Yeah, it's 2 resource side for her. It's crazy.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of this card, and it's gonna be cool playing around with her and like super ramp decks and seeing if Entourage can make a comeback. Entourage is the first one off my head, but she works in like Big Falcon decks or like anything. I mean, honestly, yeah, 10 for 10. Yeah, right. Yeah, I like it a lot. Anybody else have any?
Yeah. I think she slides in with a lot of like you could do a big little, and she's like a Watto in a sense, like making money like a Watto would potentially.
Where would she
playing
fit?
off
Who's,
her
a, who's a
stuff. I
17
mean,
that's going to be good
for
with her?
a hero that can have a big next to that, I mean that's really good. Or a bunch of smaller ones with some vehicle. Well, I would single her. I don't think she needs the big one. I mean, so what? Big fat Yoda's 18, is
I
that
think
right?
he's 18,
so you
yeah.
could do that with her, and then a 2-cost plot, and she's just.
You guys know who the obvious
money.
partner is that you haven't thought of?
Infosnox?
Can we
Sinjir
just
Wrath
stop and talk
Velis.
about this card? We have got to talk about this card.
Meta Breaker.
And fifth,
There is his work. That's it. You found it. You found
Is he a
it.
scoundrel?
I don't know. Probably not. he
and
is a
fifth would be
scoundrel.
pretty
He is a
sweet, too,
scoundrel.
actually.
You know, we're all going to crack like
Yeah, he's
Just doesn't
terrible.
matter what he
Every-
is.
every
He's
box
never
too.
gonna
He's
get on
terrible.
the table.
Everyone's gonna have to. 100%.
Yeah.
Sinjir Wrath is a legendary, yes.
worse.
It's terrible.
Worse than Voss.
Yeah, he's
That's
gonna be like
like
that
Dragon
$2
Ball
legendary that
Dryden's better.
Right. You said it was.
Yeah, Voss is better.
that's really rough.
All right, fellas. Does anybody have any parting thoughts here?
Excited for the set.
Yeah, it's gonna be a cool set.
Long time coming,
Yeah, I agree. I am stoked. I'm ready for it. Hopefully, we can get a release date this week.
Yeah, I
but-
think it's
let's not
cool
hold
how a lot of the cards, like the events, like I guess kind of using the one that Jim used as an example, like they're giving each faction like very specific archetype events that are good for that archetype, but not good in other archetypes. You know what I mean? Like Red Villain got a bunch of stuff like the battlefield stuff, more of that stuff with like Commander Pyre and all that kind of stuff. Just top of my head, but I think it's cool how they're kind of making these like niche removal cards that aren't just vanilla like good. Like the condition is
Right.
specific to that deck.
Right. It's true. There's a lot of really good, like a
Yeah,
lot
I
of
think-
0-cost removal, like you're saying, in all factions. It's really cool to see.
Yeah, and aside from the removal suite, which I think is kind of a pitch right down the middle, I think that this set, possibly more than any other set, asks the player how they want
Deep
to
level
win.
stuff here.
There's just well, it's true though. It's saying like, look, here's a lot of. They dug in, I think, into every win condition here, and I'm not sure where the scale tips. I mean, specters, plot missions, and then you look at what each color and faction have hit on, right? Like Blue Villain, we haven't even touched on Blue Villain really, but Blue Villain got a lot of love, and I don't know. I think it's really interesting. I think even Mill got some really sneaky love too. I think this is going to be a really cool set. I'm a little concerned about the weight distribution in terms of what's going to sing the loudest. Like, I mean, these two Death Star plots could be so disruptive to the overall theory of the game, but it's too early to
I mean,
say.
yeah, I completely agree.
Anyway,
I like.
that's what I got.
I forgot. I think it was Casey. I like that the Death Star plot gives us an out instead of just trying to pound Palp. Palp's like, for me, and I know for Jim and maybe Chris, he's public enemy number one. He still is. He's not going anywhere. He got some support too. So I like that there are now alternatives instead of, let's see how fast I can kill him. It's like, well, maybe if I just kill myself and my plot before he gets me, I'm going to be in better shape. And I like that kind of edge or that option now. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, you have a dude with like 28 health by the end of the game.
Absolutely.
Why go through that? Yeah.
I'm wondering who got the least love. Like, I laughed when I saw that red hero card that's like, heal 1 from you and 2 from your friend, like for $1. It's a good card. It's like, they were all like, hey, we got to help red heroes. Oh, they can heal.
That's what they do for some reason. Alrighty, fellas. Well, thank you guys for listening to our little podcast here, Lucky Number 13. Again, if you have any suggestions, any requests, anything like that, please leave us a comment for this video. Chris Chris does a really good job of kind of going on and monitoring that and responding to everything. So is Casey and Levi. But let us know what you guys want. We're going to hope to get some more live streams and some videos posted on the channel soon. But as always, thank you for listening. On behalf of Chris, Jim, Casey, Bob, Levi, I am Ryan with the Loth Wolf Pack. And until next time, Loth Wolf Pack.